Hi, I'm Russell Cummings and welcome to today's session. Carolyn's asked me to give you some feedback on what actions you can take based on the information from Jan Hoffman's webinar. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a business consultant. I've spent the last 30 years working with dynamic businesses and helping them to take themselves to the next level. I specialize in three areas: helping people develop a strategy for their business. Once we've got that strategy, implementation support through coaching and other support mechanisms. And then lastly, I found there were skills gaps in our business skills and our business management and leadership skills. And we do a whole heap of training stuff around that to help businesses, take themselves to that next level. Now, Jan's webinar was particularly good. It really set the scene for the global maritime business, and he talked about supply chain. He talked about company profiles and trade-offs and synergies. Now, you can watch the entire webinar at the 360 Group website. Carolyn's recorded that and put up Jan's PowerPoint slides and everything there for you to have a look at. So go to the 360 Group website and watch the full webinar, because we're just going to touch on the outside of it. So really, Jan talked about the globalization of maritime transport, and he broke it up into a couple of different areas and looked at what's happening with the concentration of services and things in these spaces. He then gave us some company profiles and looked at the major shipping nations around the world and how they compare to each other and where their strengths and weaknesses are. He then spent some time talking to us about particular trade-offs. So what are some of the trade-offs we're going to need to look at as an industry in Australia? And what are some of the synergies we might need to think about as we're starting to plan for our businesses and moving forward? I guess the conclusions that I've taken from Jan's webinar are that more and more maritime is being located in developing countries. Okay, that we're seeing more specialisation within countries, so we're seeing a lot more specialisation of services within countries, and we're probably seeing a return to the maritime nations of old. So we're seeing some nations becoming far more dominant in their roles and their place in the world than they have been in the past. So that's all quite interesting. So what does that mean? So what does it mean for Australian maritime businesses? What are we going to do about it? And I guess the challenge is that it's difficult for me to tell you what you should be doing specifically in your business. A, that's very arrogant of me to do that, and B, I don't have enough knowledge of your business to help you really do that. So really what I'm going to talk about is some frameworks that you can do some thinking in that might help you to develop some strategies for your business. Now, I work with businesses, and we talk about a high-performance business model. And a high-performance business model is built on a foundation of things. So, first up, you've got to get understanding of where you're taking your business, what your value proposition is, and your offer, and all that sort of stuff. So we need to get that quite clear before we start. But once we do that, then we've got this model here that we look at. And this model basically says, I borrowed this from a gentleman called Vern Harnish from the Rockefeller Habits, and I guess the three areas are, so the way I look at it, there are two sides to this. The left-hand side of this model is where we talk about doing the right things, okay, and that's about strategy, employees, and shareholders, and we'll come back to these each in a second. The other side is about doing things right, and that's about sales and marketing, operations, delivery, finance, and administration. And I think that's really important. So we've got to make sure we're doing the right things, and then we're going to do things right and as effectively and productively as possible. So let's just talk quickly about the right things. So the first one is strategy. Really got to think about the strategy for your business. So given Jan's comments, what are the major implications for you in terms of strategy? If we're seeing concentration of services and strategies, services and within countries, and particularly in developing countries, how can your business align yourself with some of these emerging nations? How can you align yourself with companies that are going to help you get to where you want to go? So what's your clear strategy? I find too often that businesses don't have a clear strategy for where they're going and what they're doing, and that's half the problem. We're just operating. So think about your strategy. What is it going to be? Now, the next point is, we really need to think about employees. So I've done a recent webinar where we talked about retention and attraction of employees in Australia. In 2030, we're going to see a major shortage, a global shortage of skilled labour around the world, and I don't think shipping will be immune from that. So this is all for me about how do you get the right people on the ship or the right employees on the boat. So it's about saying, what people do we need, where are we going to find them, what are our attraction and recruitment strategy is going to be, and how can we retain good quality people in our business. And you may need to think about a different business model for employment. There's a whole range of different things you need to think about, but you need to have a clear employee strategy, and it needs to be built around a workforce strategy. So you need to have a workforce plan. They're quite a simple thing to do, very powerful in your business because it aligns your workforce with your strategy. So important that you do that. The third element in the right things is what we call shareholders. For me, shareholders is all about, do we have access to the funding? So do we have access to capital that we require, and also to expertise? I think the days of just getting dumb money into your business are gone, and we need to start thinking about smart money. So if we can bring in additional shareholders or equity holders, what extra value do they bring into our business as opposed from just bringing money? The alternative, of course, is debt funding, and most businesses in a rapid growth phase seem to run out of debt funding fairly quickly. So they're the sort of right things we need to think about. We think about the things right. Sales and marketing, absolutely critical. Most organisations, I find, don't put enough emphasis into their sales and marketing activity. And by marketing, I'm not necessarily talking about advertising. That's a promotional activity. I'm talking about the strategic elements of marketing, about our target markets and pricing, and a whole heap of strategic points that you need to make. Sales are very underrated in most businesses, and we give it lip service, but it's the bit where the rubber hits the road for you in terms of converting opportunity into business, and I would be putting a lot more effort into my sales team. So think about your strategies in terms of sales and marketing. Operations, most businesses I run into are not having operational issues. Sometimes there's some things we can do, and the application of lean manufacturing tools to a whole range of businesses is probably fairly appropriate, particularly appropriate in the maritime sector. So start thinking about lean manufacturing, about lean thinking, lean tools in your business. But largely operations will not be where your problems lie. But you may need to think about how you rationalise operations, how you build alliances and strategies with other organisations to help you get operational excellence or operational efficiencies that you couldn't get in the past. And the last one is about finance and administration. There are so many good tools around at the moment that can help you get some real leverage in this space. So think about cloud technology, think about a whole heap of things that can help you in the finance and admin sector. And one of the main things to think of here is data. Our businesses now collect an enormous amount of information and data. How can you convert that data into some real insights that will help you make better decisions in your business? I think that's the key area to focus on in strategy. All right, so this is just a quick video. The next step, I would develop a clear strategy for your business that will differentiate you in the future. So strategy is about differentiation. What's your competitive advantage? Why should I use your organisation? Focus on those things. Make sure you've got the right people on the ship. Have the capital and finance strategy that makes sense, and then ensure that you're focused on productivity and delivering outcomes in sales and marketing, operations and administration. So they're the things I'd be thinking of, and to take things forward. So as I mentioned, happy to work with you through 360 Group. Happy to work with you through Carolyn and the team at 360 Group. As I mentioned, for me, business is about having a clear strategy. It's then about implementation, and that's about coaching your people and your executive team to get things done. And then lastly, it's about skills gaps and improving some training to improve things. Now, we're happy to build a custom package for you and your organisation to fit your budget and all your specific needs to help you take your business to that next level. If you're interested in that, it's a simple phone call to get started and have a quick chat about how we can work with you. Contact us through Carolyn at 360 Group, and we'll see if we can't work with you. All right, so thank you very much for your time here today. If you've got any questions or comments, then please forward them back through Carolyn, and look forward to talking to you in the future. Thank you.